You're listening to the Weekend Real Estate Report on 105.7 The Fan.
You do a great job here giving the audience quite a bit of information. For a lot of guys like me, I'm sure a lot of females have certainly been enlightened and informed to help their life a little bit better. So keep up the good work.
Once again, Carl Delmont.
All right, welcome back. Weekend Real Estate Report. Carl Delmont here with you. And as promised, we have our special guest, Maria Flynn from Flynn Law Group. And she is based in Annapolis, but can handle all of Maryland. And aside from practicing law, you actually specialize in helping people with, I guess, short sales and what else? Loan modifications. Correct?
Yes, Carl. Anything related to loss mitigation. So if somebody needs a loan modification, a short sale, or a deed in lieu of foreclosure, any type of foreclosure defense or mediation, basically if anyone's distressed with their home, I can help them.
All right, so let's, just for the benefit of listeners, let's do a quick, dictionary lesson here. So deed in lieu is when someone turns around and just says, listen, I don't want the house anymore. I'm just turning the deed back over to you, and they're walking away, kind of a simple transaction.
Exactly, and usually there's some debt forgiveness of what's called the deficiency judgment, the difference between what your house goes for and what you owe on your mortgage. And up until last year, December 31st of 2013, there was forgiveness on that debt, and now in the law, we're waiting, I think, till November for them to decide to extend it and make it retroactive for all of 2014. But that's a major consideration for people if they're considering a short sale or a deed in lieu.
Yeah, I remember the Mortgage Forgiveness Act expired, and because many banks dragged their feet in helping people, there were people started a process like, say, May or June, and then got word that they were approved in January, and they're like, well, great, you're deducting $30,000. I'm not going to pay tax on that $30,000. I'm not even sure I want to do this now. So hopefully they do go back and make it retroactive. And if they do, maybe extend it through another year or something like that, because I do think it helps. Sticking with the terms, so short sale, the way I explain a short sale is when the homeowners still own the property, but they're no longer really allowed to negotiate the selling price.
Right. At that point, when you're doing a short sale, it's a three-party transaction, the buyer, the seller, and the bank. And the bank has to approve everything. And it's a long process for whoever is negotiating the short sale for you. It's recommended that you get an attorney involved. There's a lot of, I would say, just difficulty. It's hard to do on your own or for a realtor to do. Okay.
And then a foreclosure is when the homeowner and the bank just can't work it out, and the bank decides they're just going to take the property back.
Right, and I hate to see people go all the way up until the door of foreclosure. There's a lot of loss mitigation options that they should consider and be informed of their options before that's a possibility.
Yeah, I was talking to someone the other night who doesn't do quite what you do, but it's somewhat in the realm, and they were saying that because of Maryland laws and how things are set up here, that some people think, you know what, I might as well just live here for 3 years rent-free because they're not going to do anything for at least that period of time. It's almost like it induces people to follow that route. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Well, I've been on the front lines of this for 6 years fighting for homeowners, and I can only tell you what I see. I think if a house is in the $200,000-$300,000 range, those frequently go to foreclosure faster. If there's a house of higher value, $500,000-$600,000, they sit for a while. I have tons of clients sitting in their house not making payments for 3 or 4 years, and the bank explains it as a backlog in the courts. But what's really happening is the banks aren't really equipped to be asset managers, and they would sit on those bigger houses for a while and be required to cut the grass, maintain them, whatever. They flip the lower-end ones, but still with the lower-end ones, there's still a lot of delay.
Yeah, and the thing I've noticed, too, is that with a lot of these REOs, the real estate-owned, the bank-owned home properties, that one of the tricks I'm telling people, like for every time someone does a purchase with us, if it's a primary residence, we give them a free platinum home warranty. Our warranty, and I think some other ones do this too, but I can speak for ours, has a feature where you can actually, for a small premium, I think it's like $60, $70, you can actually have the warranty start the day of contract. And the trick I'm telling people, if you're buying a short sale or a distressed property, whether it's a foreclosure, bank-owned home, whatever, you really should do this because these banks, like you said, they're not asset managers. And they'll turn off the water, they'll turn off the electric, they don't winterize the homes. And then when the home inspector comes in and starts turning on the water and everything else, because the bank's, okay, what time are you coming out there? Oh, we'll be out there Wednesday. They call the water company, they get it turned on, and they turn it off a couple days later. Well, pipes could burst, all kinds of things could happen. And then if that happens, there's a leak, now you have mold in the property, and then the bank's like, well, I'm not going to pay for that. Well, no one's going to buy the house or get qualified for financing if there's mold in the property either. So there's a lot of issues to consider here.
Yeah, that sounds like a great insurance policy. I would highly recommend that.
So what are some let's start with some common mistakes, and you don't have to out anyone by name, but maybe just by example, of mistakes made going through the short sale process or the foreclosure process. I know we talked off air about waiting to the last minute, and that's something that people do almost in every category. But let's talk about how it pertains to yours and maybe share some other stories.
Okay. Well, Maryland is a judicial foreclosure state, so they have to go through certain stages. A foreclosure attorney has to file in court, and there's many different notifications that you would get that your house is going to foreclosure. And during that time, hopefully, ideally before that time, when you know you're in default, you would consult somebody in the profession, hopefully an attorney, that can advise you in the best way. But a loan modification, short sale, or deed in lieu of foreclosure, usually in that order, are what people consider. As far as loan modification, if you qualify, a lot of it's based on the numbers. They look for 31% of your gross income to be less than what you're currently paying on your mortgage. And if that's the case, you should be eligible for a HAMP loan modification. And I know this is going a little bit off subject, but back in 2008, when the government bailed out the banks, they gave them billions of dollars of TARP funds. These loan servicers, your mortgage companies, they had to sign servicer pooling agreements that said they allocated certain money to these loss mitigation problems. But it's an industry-wide standard that they're not complying with those agreements. And I know you asked me about what are some common mistakes, but I wanted to highlight the mistakes of the bank.
Okay.
Because that's really where I come in, is fighting for people's rights.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, for listeners, are you representing the borrower or do you represent the bank?
I represent the borrower.
I just want to make sure that's clear to listeners. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So we know that banks make a lot of mistakes. I've shared that with, the non-winterizing the homes and all the other things going on. But and we can stay on that if you'd like. But I always think it's really good for people to hear stories about real life situations, other people in this listening area who have experienced it, and maybe what got them to that point, and maybe some things they could have done to maybe made the process a little easier. Now, I know you posted on your Facebook page about a client who, called you last minute, and then you had to go and file a bunch of things, and you were able to save it, but a lot of work in a very short period of time. And I don't know if it was because of apathy or just bad advice or whatever, but if you could maybe elaborate on that story.
Well, a lot of people have been taken advantage of by, say, loan mod consultants or people that are unscrupulous in the industry, or they've been trying it on their own for years. The statistic is that if you try it on your own, less than 20 people will get a loan modification. So it takes an attorney to get it done. And, you just need somebody to be very honest with you about if you qualify or not. I turn away over 75% of the people that come through my door that don't qualify. And it's really based on the numbers. So I'm very honest with people and candid. And just come as soon as you can. Once you know you're in default, and you are not required to be in default to get a loan modification. That was a whole farce back several years ago, and banks would even tell
banks were telling people that skip a couple payments and call us back.
It actually drove them to foreclosure.
Yep.
I'm dealing with a lot of cases right now where people were wrongly foreclosed based on the banks being not ethical. So the banks use a lot of tactics to either string clients along, homeowners along, or just literally send them to foreclosure. And what's going on in the background of this is while you apply for a loss mitigation option, they do what's called an NPV test that stands for net present value. And in that test, they have decided whether or not it's profitable to foreclose on your home or not. So it helps to really be informed about what those NPV numbers are. I've got a whole system in place to deal with that. And then you'll really know your options, and then if you have them, fight for them properly.
It's always amazed me to hear stories of people that they make an offer on a short sale foreclosed home, especially when it's been on the market for a while. And then the home inspection comes in and the house needs work because it wasn't taken care of by the bank. And then let's just say it's $5,000. And the bank will hem and haw and fight and sometimes turn the deal down over $5,000. I'm thinking, okay, I know they're not really making a mortgage payment, but they have carrying costs on this thing. in 2 months they're going to lose $5,000. What are the odds someone else is going to come in 2 months and settle and accept the work that needs to be done when you have a ready, willing, and able buyer? Just it seems that sometimes it's like they're penny wise and pound foolish.
There's a lot of inefficiency in the industry for sure.
Yeah. Now, do you think the robo-signing fiasco that happened, I know there's a settlement on that, but do you think that actually gave the people when that was going on maybe a little moratorium because the banks are sort of in a holding patterns, and that's maybe encouraged some people to maybe go the foreclosure route because like, well, no one's calling me, no one's bothering me, I might as well just keep living here rent-free?
Yeah, I think that it definitely did happen. They shut down foreclosures, I know, in Anne Arundel County for 6 months for Bank of America while they figured all that out. Wells Fargo does not have a good record with robo-signing. And the foreclosure attorney firms that the banks hire to foreclose, they're now robo-signing. Even the ones I have to deal with on a daily basis are very unethical. So it does help to know that some attention is being given to these grievances in the industry, but still, we're really far off from where it needs to be.
I don't know if you remember that story a couple of years ago where Bank of America foreclosed erroneously on a property that people paid cash for, and the attorney actually foreclosed on Bank of America's local branch.
I did. I actually used that story.
Yeah, I actually had that guy on my radio show when it happened. He was great. He's actually moved way up in the world. He was at a small firm, then went to another firm, and now he's at a bigger firm. So that really catapulted him. That was a pretty creative and ingenious way to get their attention. But it also shows how inefficient, to what you said, the banks are. They had the property years before. People foreclosed on it. The guy went and bought the house for them for cash. He has no mortgage. And somehow or another, they went through the courts and foreclosed on him. It just makes no sense. But that just goes to show you that, it's a very, very complicated system. And to your point, you need experts to help you out with this.
Yeah, definitely. And if I can say one more thing, this whole industry is new. I mean, it happened 2007, 2008 when the economy hit the fan, and everyone was scrambling to deal with it. And there's only so many people that can be staffed in either the loan servicers or the foreclosure attorneys, and sometimes they don't know what they're doing. And there's a new person for every job, and they have turnover. It's just a mess. So we're finally catching up to it now, and I think there's some policies in place and some regulation. But still, if you've been hurt by your bank or not given a loss mitigation option that you deserve, you should talk to an attorney to see if your rights have been violated and what your options are.
And while we have you, if anyone's interested in reaching you, why don't you give out your company number and website and all that?
Sure. Thanks, Carl. It's mariaflynnlaw.com is my website. And my phone number is 410-451-1457.
Okay, and I'll put it up on our Facebook page, too, for people to find. And what I want to do is, I think there's still a few more things we should discuss. So we got a couple more things to discuss here. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll have you, if you have more time, why don't you stay on, we'll cover a couple more things. Because I know there's a couple stories that are really worthwhile sharing. You deal with a lot of banks. Do you feel that in talking to these banks that there's a lot of inventory that's yet to come to market?
Yes, I do. Are you talking about the REO department for the banks?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I think the REO departments, they're flooded with homes. And
do you still think, more to your story earlier, that it's in the under $300,000, under $200,000 price range, or you think it's all across the scale?
That's my personal experience.
Okay.
I mean, eventually, if these people don't pay in the higher-end homes, they are going to foreclose, but they're just flipping the smaller ones faster.
Okay, because I noticed the last number showed that cash sales for investors were not quite as high as they have been, which I think bodes well for the first-time buyer because now they're not competing as heavily with someone who's paying cash. But I think as we get more inventory in there, that's going to actually increase the marketplace and help more people out. Right now, it's weird. It's a little bit of a conundrum in the sense that we have low rates and we have okay inventory, not great inventory, but it's kind of a weird buyers and sellers market. And I really think it depends on where you're looking and the type of home and everything else. Homes priced properly and shown correctly sell almost immediately. Homes that maybe people want way more than it's worth and hoping for the best, or maybe don't show properly or market it properly, are going to sit in the market a little bit longer. But that's something else we can discuss. Are you listening to Weekend Real Estate Report? Our guest today is Maria Flynn from Maria Flynn Law Group, or the Flynn Law Group, and that's FLYNN. We'll put it up on our Freedmont Mortgage funding Facebook page so you can find information. But if you have anyone you know siblings, coworkers, neighbors, whatever that are maybe in that situation could use some help regarding a foreclosure or short sale, tell them to stay tuned or check the podcast out later in the week. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more with Maria Flynn from the Flynn Law Group. You're listening to Weekend Real Estate Report. Remember, information, not an infomercial. We'll be back in a couple.
The Weekend Real Estate Report will be right back on 105.7 The Fan.
On the show, we got to sign off in a couple seconds here. What I'll do is I'll post your information on the Facebook page so people can find you. And if we have questions or we think we got some more topics, we'll bring you back on another time, okay?
Thanks for having me, Carl.
No problem. All right, we want to thank our listeners. Well, as we said, Ravens play at 1 o'clock. We are a 1-hour show, 9 to 10. When they're not playing at 1 o'clock, we're back to our normal 2-hour format. If you need us during the week, 800-955-8508. Or you can find us at Freedmont, FREEDMONT funding.com. And, of course, Facebook, website, all that great stuff. NMLS number 1071. And, again, you can reach us during the week. If you're looking at getting a pre-approval today, we do have people on standby. Just go to our website. We'll get back to you. Otherwise, call us during the week, and more than happy to help you out. Never an application fee. And again, everything we do here is local. Processing, underwriting, and funding. Give us a call. Freedmont Mortgage Funding. Happy to help you out. 800-955-8508. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys next week.